This is a Nortel Networks Enterprise Edge 1000, a late 1990s PBX which can allow analog, VoIP, and digital telephones to interact with each other. It's got some modules on the front to facilitate this, and some very interesting hardware inside. It's just a regular old x86 motherboard with an Intel processor in it, but in order to do anything interesting it needs the Business Communications Manager or BCM software. We'll go on a software archaeology adventure, use 20-year-old versions of Norton Ghost to image an IDE to SD adapter, and experience a lot of failure. Will we be able to get Windows 95 on it? No. Will we be able to get Windows 98 on it? No. Will we be able to get Business Communications Manager software on it? Kinda. Not really. But the satisfaction is in the journey. Let's get into it. This beautiful monster is a Nortel Networks Enterprise Edge 1000. Best I can tell, it's a PBX of some sort, and it's pretty old. This particular unit was built November 22nd of 1999. It's got a couple of these caller ID trunk interfaces, and they take in 4 lines from the telco provider. So these would be POTS telephone lines coming in, with dial tone. I'm not entirely sure what this aux port is, but a total of 8 lines coming in. And then it's got this 32 DSI module. The DS stands for digital station, best I can tell. I don't know what the I stands for. I found instances of this thing online and they all refer to it as a digital station module. Looks like the top of the thing has stickers on it that refer to that as well. So I don't know, DSI, digital station interface? But basically you can take the analog phone calls and you can plug digital phones into this. So you take your good old Cat 3 cable. This is the wrong gender, but you get the idea. Plug it in right there. But you bring it over to something like this, probably mounted, I don't know, closer to your phones. Plug this thing in. It's also the wrong gender. So maybe not this thing, but you get the idea. You bring a bunch of the digital lines over to some sort of breakout box, and then the individual phones plug in. Couple problems though. I do not have any digital phones, to my knowledge. Also, this thing doesn't have a hard drive. This was sent to me by a viewer named Javis for the cost of shipping, which was only $40 somehow. This thing weighs, I don't know, 30, 35 pounds. So I find that hard to believe. And he warned me, there is no hard drive installed in this thing. So this thing would run some telephony software. We will talk about that. And early versions would have been running like a headless Windows NT. This is a very early variant, I believe. And later versions would be running Linux. So as far as I know, no hard drive in there, but maybe we can solve that problem and then we'll go buy some phones on eBay or something. I don't know. So as I understand it, this thing is a PBX, meaning the digital phones coming off of here, 32 of them presumably, can call each other. They can also call the outside world on one of these 8 lines, and the outside world can call them, and 8 lines can be busy at a time. I think you also could have had a network module in this thing. I appear to be missing one. We'll go over all the hardware components soon. And so I'm guessing the software that would run on this could do VoIP? Not entirely sure. But this Enterprise Edge 1000 name was really throwing me off when I was researching this thing. Not a whole ton of information about that out there. I did, however, find a Nortel Networks manual for something called Business Communications Manager, or BCM 1000. And it looks an awful lot like the item on the desk. This BCM 1000 PDF manual has a button in it. You don't see that much anymore. A lot of my confusion was put to rest when I found this Nortel, Norstar, and BCM lore page hosted on dragonhawk.org. They've got a nice little Nortel terminology overview, which we will need. And they say the BCM used to be called Enterprise Edge way back when. So I think this is a very early edition of some BCM gear that Nortel Networks was pumping out in the late 90s. And it's called Enterprise Edge 1000. According to Dragonhawk, it's the original. They started at 1000, then they went 400, 250, and 450, as one does. And I will say, Nortel Networks kind of had something cooking here, design-wise. I have some other Nortel gear. Got this Business Policy Switch 2000. Yeah, I've got 2 actually. Okay, liking what I'm seeing. You can stack these both physically and emotionally. By that I mean software. They can fail over to one another. They've got these Baystack 400 ST1 Cascade modules, so you can connect the 2 units up with what I believe is just a SCSI cable, but it's obviously not used for SCSI in this scenario. I have a really old video where I got these fired up and I was trying to stack them, but I didn't have the right cables, couldn't get it to work right. I did eventually get it working, but that might have been in a Patreon video. I suppose if we get this thing doing something interesting, maybe we'll have to get these in the mix. It doesn't have a network module. Speaking of, let's start looking around this thing. Oh, before we do that, I didn't get a video of me unboxing this thing, but I did get a shot of the box, and I was absolutely cracking up, just to myself down here, as I opened it up, because Javis threw in some bonuses. Longtime viewers will recognize what this is. It is a very well packaged Sunray 1. Just what I needed. These are Sun Microsystems thin clients, and I already had 3 of them. And then in the last month, I've come into possession of 2 additional ones now. So one in the stand, thank you, Y2K Man 2K, and then another one from Javis. So I think we're good on Sunray 1s. Not that big of a operation down here. There was also this mystery box, which I have not opened yet. What do we think? Hopefully it's the software package for this BCM. Wouldn't that be something? Oh, a bunch of stuff. Maybe. Is it enough? No way. Is it a Sunray 1 stand? No way. What's this? Some sort of plastic piece with screws. It is. It's the stand. Apparently it comes in 2 pieces. And so you put it together somehow. I see. Yes. And then this little other piece he included. Yeah, screws in. I had no idea. Just like that somehow. Or maybe I put it in there first. I'll go look at the other one. Wow. Outdone yourself, Javis. This is so wild. I had no idea this was in here. Every one of my videos just turns into a Sunray video. So I'm referencing the one Y2K Man 2K gave me. It was already put together. I, in fact, did not even realize that it came in 2 pieces. And this metal piece goes behind the plastic. So you do something like this, screw in one side, and then put it together. I'm going to do that now. I mean, you're looking at maybe the guy that owns the most Sunray 1 stands in North America. Now that I've got 2 of them. Fun little note, the Sunray 1 logo is only on one side of the stand, and you can see there's nothing up here. If I flip this guy around, no logo down here, but they've got it up here. Some designer was cooking with that. This might be something that's never happened in the world, which is always fun. 2 opposing Sunray 1s in their stands on top of a Nortel Networks Enterprise Edge 1000. Speaking of which, sorry for the detour. Thank you, Javis. Let's get back to this thing. Let's start on the left side. So you've got like what appears to be an air grill, so air can get through there. There's a massive fan on the back, I'll show you, in addition to the power supply fan. We of course have the Nortel Networks logo right there. And then we've got some indicators. We have power, disk, status, 1 through 7. I'll have to read the manual and see what that's about. And then I believe that stands for reset. There's a hole there, but it doesn't feel like there's a button in there. Maybe I need a full paper clip or something. Maybe that's not deep enough. And then this flips down. And so obviously what we got going on in here is the back end of a bog standard x86 motherboard. Mouse and keyboard PS2. We do have a network jack, but I'll show you why earlier I said I don't think we have the right module. USB ports. Pretty wild for 1999. VGA, printer or parallel port, serial port, some audio stuff, and then a joystick port. Thing came out in 1999, so I guess what's the worst case scenario? Turn this into my new Windows 98 gaming rig? My current rig is a Pix Firewall. That is an old video, but a fun one. I would recommend you go check that out. Sort of getting the same energy from this thing. And then to the right we have what appear to be PCI slots. Get some light in there. That's what my money's on. When we're looking at this, it'll be useful to reference the documentation. So there was a WAN card, a modem card, something called an MSC. That stands for Media Services Card, a LAN card, and a RAID board. So having multiple disks in a RAID array inside the machine. The documentation says this is an example of one of 4 possible profiles, so I'll have to read it further and figure out what the other 3 profiles are. But I think I can guess that I was a slightly different profile. Clearly didn't have, from the factory, a RAID board. So just a hard drive inside, because that plate is still there. I am missing what was probably a WAN card. I still have the modem. Luckily, I still have the MSC, or Media Services Card. I think this plays a pretty big role in the telephony stuff once you get software installed on that thing. I'm missing a LAN card. Feel like I can solve that problem. And then of course, like I said, probably never had the RAID card. Zooming in a little bit, this is just ye old modem, probably a 56K modem. And then this looks like a network card with some audio jacks. That's kind of true. This RJ45 connector is a DS256, and you had to buy special cables from Nortel to plug this into an expansion unit. They sold some sort of additional expansion chassis, and you would use a special cable that you would buy from Nortel. In fact, good old Dragonhawk says the DS256 jack may look like an Ethernet port. It's not. You must use Nortel's cable. And then these things are called media bay modules. The slots they're in are called media bays. And like I was saying before, pretty sure these are 8 total telecom lines coming in. I guess you could call them FXO ports. And they're caller ID aware. I don't know if we can get far enough to deal with that. I have all the equipment that I could power this with, but I don't think I have the phones. And of course, we're going to have to find the software. And then we got the 32 DSI. This is where you'd plug in digital phones to interact with the analog lines and each other, I believe. I am very lucky to have this MSC, Media Services Card. I am pretty sure all of these are actually plugging into this thing, because obviously these are not standard PC peripherals. They require this very special PCI card, I think, and they're plugging into that, and then we got to find the software. Let's look at the back and then open this thing up. We have a typical PC power supply of the time, and then a massive fan. Not sure what's getting hot in there. Maybe those modules, I don't know. And then we got this nice Nortel Networks badge, Enterprise Edge 1000, made in Canada. Nortel Networks was originally Northern Telecom. The Bell Systems Canadian arm, I guess you could say. Then they became Nortel Networks, and then they almost crashed the Canadian economy. I think inside here we're going to be finding a pretty standard PC of the 1999 vintage. I think Javis was telling me he replaced the CMOS battery and everything is working okay. It just doesn't have a hard drive with the very special software this hardware wants, of course. I don't know what we're going to be able to do about that. We'll see. Took off 6 screws on this lid that appears to come off, and it looks like you could have rack mounted this bad boy in a server rack. I don't have the ears, of course. Okay, there we go. Whoa. Definitely not seeing a hard drive inside, but look at this MSC card. Are those PCMCIA cards? What in the hell is going on here? These are, can I just slide these out? These are PCMCIA cards. There are 4 of them. What are we looking at here? That first one I pulled is dated December 9th of 1999, and it is a Media Services Processor Expansion Card Type A. What in the... What? All 4 appear to be the same. Identical to what I just showed you. And they've got the like dongle port on the back. What in the... I hope you are finding this as fascinating as I am. And then yeah, these media bay modules. This one's got a fan. And then they've got these tiny ribbon cables. And they are going into the MSC. A lot of engineering went into this. This thing is absolutely bonkers. I was about to go to bed, call it a night in terms of filming. And then I saw the quad stack of PCMCIA cards. I gotta keep going now. So for context here, PCMCIA was like an expansion format that was standardized. So I've got this laptop. I've also got this Linksys Wireless B PCMCIA card. And if my laptop didn't have Wi-Fi, I could plug her in and bam, now I've got Wi-Fi. A lot of the time they had dongles. So these things are pretty thin and you couldn't always plug a wire into them. And I realize this is a little in the weeds, but you made it this far and you're on my YouTube channel. This is an IBM 16.4 token ring card bus adapter. Card bus was another name for PCMCIA. And bam, now I can get this thing on a token ring network. I could do the same thing for Ethernet, whatever. So what was Nortel doing with 4 of these on their MSC card? And what dongle was that? All the dongles were different. So you can see that IBM one, totally different. So anyway, that's why this is so fascinating. I think, are these just storing information? Are these flashcards? On a lot of 1990s networking equipment, especially Cisco, it was common to have flash PCMCIA modules like this. This is a 16 megabyte memory card. It's essentially an IDE drive. So are the 4 of these just like storing information or enabling this thing with the ability to interact with certain modules over here? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about this. Chloe, maybe you shouldn't be in the Nortel appliance. Thank you. That front panel with the LEDs has its own pretty sophisticated looking board here, and both of its ribbon cables are going into the motherboard, which is interesting. And then we've got some RAM in here, just one stick, 128 megs of SD RAM, I believe, from Bravo. So we'll get that back in here. And then I did notice, this is totally loose. The CPU is glued to the heatsink, and I think Javis said he had powered this on. So depending on how, yeah, there you go. So just the thermal paste, the original thermal paste or a thermal pad is holding this heatsink onto the CPU, but I think that's fine. If I end up running this thing for a really long time, we'll deal with that. Down in here are the floppy and IDE headers, and the IDE cable comes back to here, of course, where we would have had a hard drive, and it looks like there's a place to mount it. And I see a loose screw, probably related. I'm guessing there used to be a plate or something for the hard drive. So yeah, Chloe says, even without a hard drive, let's power it on with a monitor and see what kind of BIOS we got on this thing. As far as CPU goes, my money is on a Pentium 1. Right, Chloe? Got it hooked up here, and you wouldn't really interact with it like this usually, I think. I was reading the documentation, and if we had a hard drive running the BCM software in there, this vintage of machine would be running Windows NT behind the scenes, I think, and you would interact with it over the serial port or the network. But because we don't have a hard drive, I think it's just going to act like a normal PC, and we should see a BIOS screen. I couldn't tell which one of these was mouse or keyboard, so we're just winging that. And then I did find out what all these indicator lights mean. So the first 3 are as written, power disk and status. The next 5 correspond to the PCI slots in some way. And then we've got a temperature and fan warning light, 6 and 7. You can see the oldest documentation I found is for a proper BCM 1000. So things are ever so slightly different than this one, but I think it's all the same idea. So there is no power switch. Let's give it power. All right, that sounds good. Big fan in the back, took a while to kick on. Intel Celeron. Okay. Scanning option ROMs. Ooh. Drive error. Okay. Now we got to talk about software. Also, we should be able to trick this thing into a BIOS. I'm going to do a Control-Delete. Sometimes they hide the option in some of these built-in appliances. It's like options they can set in the BIOS. Oh, never mind. It's right there. I just missed it. Sorry. Yeah, here we go. Sees our RAM. We have 128 megs. Probably SD RAM. This thing smells, by the way. Very musty. Let's talk about the software situation. So this thing would have shipped with a hard drive inside with some version of BCM Business Communications Manager running on it. One this old, I think, would be running version 2.5-ish. They had various major releases, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. As you went up in release, three things happened. Sometimes you need a bigger hard drive, and they would sell you an upgrade kit. Sometimes you needed more RAM. They were happy to sell you that too. And then what I was reading is the firmware that is probably on these PCMCIA cards, I'm not sure, but that might also need updating. I have not found anything older than BCM 3.7, which may or may not work in here, but we're going to give it a shot. Now, don't get too excited about any of this. I'm not holding my breath that we get very far, but we're going to try. So, on the Internet Archive, someone has uploaded a bunch of Nortel stuff under these various batches. So this is Telco CDs batch 12, and I saw that we've got something called BCM 3.7 for use with the BCM imaging tool. There's a bunch of stuff in here, but I think the thing we care about is this 37GA bit.gho file. I believe that is a Norton Ghost disk image. If you're not familiar, Norton Ghost was a really popular disk imaging system, a piece of software from the late 1990s. Came out in 1995, I think. My dad used to own computer stores, and they would actually image the Windows installs and use this all the time. Anyway, this is on archive.org. This is apparently a German version. Didn't notice that. This is what it looked like in 1999. So I downloaded that torrent from archive.org. We have the GHO and a GHS file. I'm not too familiar. And there was also this ISO here also contains a GHS. I'm not sure what the story with that is. Let's scrounge up an IDE to compact flash card adapter, and then we'll figure out how to write these ghost files. Hopefully there's some open source tool that can do that for us this day and age. Actually, I'm going to give this IDE to SD card adapter a shot. I picked up a couple of these on a whim on Amazon. I don't think I've tested them yet. I got a 32 gig SD card. Hopefully that's big enough. Yeah. And to get started, we will combine that with my IDE to USB converter here. And I even have some power coming off of it. This is actually going to be kind of funny. This will have to sit like that. And then we'll give it some power. And yeah, hook that up to my main machine real quick. Got it plugged into my PC and Windows detected it right away. What was I doing with this thing in 2019? Boot me. Oh, I was jailbreaking a Wii apparently. Forgot about that. Yeah, the Hack Me installer. That's hilarious. Anyway, I don't need what's on here. This is good. Okay. We have what should hopefully be a healthy IDE to SD card adapter. Hopefully the machine can see it. I'm going to go research how to write ghost image files. I decided to not even try to do this on my Windows 11 machine. That just sounds like it's going to be full of heartache and failure. So I've got this Windows 7 machine. It can successfully see that as an IDE drive. I'm going to get an old version of Norton Ghost on here. In the archive, there are 3 files I think I'm concerned with. There's a GHO file and 2 numbered GHS files. I think you load up the GHO and point it at a hard drive, and it'll go off and find the GHS files, I think, as I understand it. So I'm going to get a copy of Norton on here, purchased legally. I'll let you know how it goes. Interesting. Doesn't matter anyway. I'm pretty sure this is not what I want. This is Norton Ghost. I want something called like the Semantic Ghost Solution Suite or something. This is for like backing up a personal PC. I don't need this. Found a copy of Ghost Solution Suite from 2005, and we're so close. It says this can't be installed on Windows Vista, even though this is Windows 7. All the installers have had sweet sound effects so far, by the way. Want to see something interesting? I've got this Geek Squad 2 gig USB stick. On my Windows 11 machine, I get about 4 or 5 megabytes per second when I'm transferring to and from it. But when I get it popped in this Windows 7 machine, I get like 12 megabytes per second. I realize I'm reading here, but it's it's basically the same story either way. Isn't that weird? Here's a slightly newer version from 2008. They stuck with it. Do I want the tools and utilities or do I want the Ghost? I don't know. Oh, You get to choose again. I already uninstalled the existing Ghost. I literally knew this was going to happen, so I did that. No! Lest we get nostalgic, so what is it? Oh, this is not good. There is no Ghost stuff. I didn't restart after that last failed attempt. Yeah, let's do that. Restart didn't work. Don't worry though, I'm just going to delete every registry key related to Symantec and Ghost that I can find. Break my Windows install. I'm going to be very excited if that works. Unsupported operating system, you can continue. I guess this was from Windows XP. That registry trick worked, by the way. That's hilarious. Do it. Do it. This isn't good, but I'm not surprised. It says I need to go to licensing.symantec. Is it Symantec or Symantec? I've always said Symantec. That's what I'm going to say the rest of the video. Please have your license certificate available. We were doing this shit back in 2008. Well, that was where to go. AI Builder. Wow. Pretty ahead of their time. Ghost Explorer. Dude, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Oh, it can open those GHO files. Okay. Let's open this one. Yes, this is a Windows NT install. I mean, here it all is though. This is cool. So yeah, this is all the stuff. What do they got installed? That's good. Nortel left the Plus package in here. What am I looking at? Oh, IE4. IE5 setup. Maybe we want the Ghost console. 10 clients for 30 days. That's all we need. Okay, I was doing a little Googling, and none of this is really going to help us. However, rumor has it, on the program files, Ghost, and down in here, we should be able to run Ghost 32 as administrator. Whoa, okay. Oh, and the mouse works. Yes, so we can do local, disk, from image. Yes, okay. I should screen capture this. This is way too cool. Unfortunately, I must not have the right video drivers because it's only seeing one screen, even with another one plugged in. Sorry about that. Okay, let's continue. Probably don't need to waste a bunch of time since this isn't going to work anyway, but we're having fun. Okay, I'm trying to find my GHO file here. There it is. And then select local destination. That would be this one. The smaller one, not my root drive. Okay. It's going to show us the partitions that exist in the image. This thing is very sensitive to the mouse. I should probably be using the keyboard. And there we go. And notice the image is 20 gigs, and it does know that my local SD card is something like 32, showing 29. That's okay. It'll just end up being a 20 gig image. It's just going to work. It says restoring. Progress indicator. Activity indicator going on the USB converter, and then that green active light came on. There's the iconic Ghost logo. Yeah, I'm just going to let this crank away. Pretty exciting. We're almost halfway. This is so cool. I have been looking for an excuse to use Symantec Ghost for years. I used it like really briefly as a kid in the late 90s, just kind of messing around. And like I was saying, my dad used it a lot in his business, his computer business. And it was serious stuff. I don't know, maybe it's still a going concern, I don't know. But I mean, this is pretty impressive what's happening. We're taking an image from the early 2000s. We're running it on an operating system from like 2009. The software's from 2008. And then I've got this crazy USB to IDE converter with this IDE to SD card converter. Like, there's a lot of technology going on right here and software. Hopefully it works. Spoke too soon. Decompression error. Abort? No, I would not like to abort. Uh-oh. Corruption in the image file. Please perform an integrity check on the image. Well, that's not good. Man, we were like 75% of the way there. Now the program's going to crash. It dumped out this ghost error text file, error log, after it ran, and it was trying to look in those GHS files. Last LFO error path was 37GA bit 001.GHS. These are the GHS files 001 and 002, and this is the GHO. Why is it treating the GHO as a potential GHS? Anyway, I don't know anything about any of this stuff, by the way, so. And it gives you a lot of information. No file system info structure. File system is inaccessible. Well, I'm going to look through this for a little bit and see what we can come up with. I am performing an integrity check on the GHO. That is what the dialog suggested, and it was one of the menu options, so see where we get. Hopefully this tells us conclusively what's wrong with it. Oh yeah, it doesn't like it either. This is good though, because this takes about 20 seconds. We'll figure this out. Well, I forgot that if you restart the laptop, sometimes the other screen shows up. Actually, there are also like function buttons to choose the monitor. Forgot about that as well, obviously. Been a long time. Pretty primo recording setup. There's the IDE to SD card drive. Oh yeah, we're cooking now. Actually, it kind of looks like crap. I wonder if I can do anything about that. I think I can like squish it until it almost looks right. That's better. Still a little fuzzy. This might be as good as it gets. We're on a old computer adventure. Let me show you. So I was looking through those error logs, and it really implies that maybe one of the images is corrupt, or I'm missing a file. But I'm on this forum, techtips.com from 2005, and I have all three of these files. This guy's talking about exactly what you want to do, and I will double check, but I'm pretty sure these are the sizes of the files I have. And then this guy's saying you should use a CLI command to perform the restore. Let's try it. Also, something I did made the BCM image backup like mount by default. I don't know what I did, but this is what it's doing now. Hopefully that doesn't get in the way of what we're up to. One last check. I think you saw earlier I was able to open that file, and it's not corrupt or anything. There's all the mount points that are mounting to this machine now for some reason. Not sure what's going on there. Okay, I think that's good. A little sketchy, but we're going to use that command from the forum. We are not running in DOS, so I have to run Ghost 32. He was just running Ghost. I have put the GHO in the C drive. The destination is 2 on my machine. That IDE to SD converter. I think it's just going to launch this. What? Invalid switch. Oh, I meant to say clone, but I had a comma. Let's try that again. It's starting. I'll let you know how it goes. Last time it crashed at like 82% or something. We're at 79. Some of those flags kind of implied that it's going to do less checks or something. I'm not sure. Same problem. Let me double check these file sizes and everything. Pulled out a Windows XP machine, and in an older version of Ghost, this is 8.3. I think we were running 11.5 on the Windows 7 machine. Same problem, slightly different error message, but an internal inconsistency has been detected. So I think, unfortunately, I have a corrupt image. I wasn't even sure if 3.7 would run on this quite old Enterprise Edge 1000 anyway. So I'm gonna begin my hunt over again to find older versions. There was a pretty good chance that 3.7 wouldn't even be supported by my MSC card in here. So yeah, that was going to be a whole thing. I'm going to keep on the hunt. We haven't even talked about the fact that even if we get this running, you needed like license key codes, I think they called them, I think, to even turn these ports on, which of course I don't have, but I wanted to get a little further. I'm going to go scour the internet. Well, my internet search is yielding nothing so far. So we're just going to try to put this thing in there as is. Remember when I was saying that it was like mounting itself? I'm pretty sure it's because in all these attempts I'm writing enough partition information to this thing that it's a valid disk. So let's see what happens. And then I also ran it on the Windows XP machine, and there was a bunch of options to tell it to ignore errors and keep proceeding, and it would still error out the same way. So let's see what happens. We're going to have to place this thing carefully so that it doesn't short itself. I think that'll work just fine. Let's let her rip. Are we going to get anything good? Will it even detect a C drive? I don't really know what it's supposed to do. It's just a PC, right? Right into scanning option ROMs. That must be some firmware on the PCI cards, right? Ugh, that's not good. Getting nowhere fast. I don't have disk A. Let's take a look at the BIOS. That big fan spins down when it's rebooting. It's kind of weird. Let's see if it even sees that disk. It does. It sees a primary IDE master SD to CF adapter. Okay. Boot configuration. Doesn't really tell me anything. Oh, here we go. Boot. First boot device floppy. I do not want that. I want it to be the IDE. And I don't have a floppy yet, but we can put that there, I guess. See if that makes a difference. I was thinking to myself, why would they not have the IDE drive the first boot? But obviously the CMOS battery died in this thing, so it's lost its original BIOS settings long ago. I'm going to mess around a little bit. Well, I'm pretty sure it's trying to boot from that, but obviously something's wrong with the drive because we didn't write out 3.7, BCM 3.7 properly. That is the only copy of any BCM image I've been able to find in the last 2 days. I'm going to keep looking, but let's see if there's like something fun we could do. Maybe write Windows 98 out to this bad boy. So I put an SD card in there with FreeDOS on it, and I'm able to boot to that. And it's working. Something odd though. Check this out. If I restart the machine, let it do its thing, it says scanning option ROMs, and then we get a drive error on A, F1 to resume. Then I get into FreeDOS, which is weird. I thought I would have hopped right into this earlier. So maybe that other SD card's fine. Let's try it out. This is the SD card that Ghost had tried to write BCM 3.7 on. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get the same story. Scanning option ROMs. I think I had gotten discouraged at this point. What's going to happen? Oh, boot failure. Did I already try this? All right, let's get Windows 98 on this stupid thing. Here's the contents of that SD card. It's a 4 gig SD card I was booting with FreeDOS, and I created that with a tool called Rufus. Basically, built in, you can, I guess I could have put MS-DOS on there too, FreeDOS on there. And so I think the idea is I'll make a folder called Win98, and then I'll go find one of my ISOs of Win98, put the contents in there. That's Chloe getting in a bag back there. Chloe! All right, looking through my stash here. We got Windows 98. I feel like we want SE for sure. So let's mount this guy. Okay, then I'm going to put all of that on the SD card. Oh, there she is. You done making a bunch of noise with your bag, dude? She's obsessed with this box over here. It's got like a bunch of IBM PS2 MCA cards in it. She can't get enough. Chip off the old block. While this is copying, I'll talk to you a little bit about what it's like to make YouTube videos where you're troubleshooting something. So for the past 2 days, the evening each day, so it is Saturday evening. Chloe, can we not? No more noise. So the last 2 nights, Chloe and I have been looking for copies of the software we need for that Nortel device. Troubleshooting a bunch of different ways to write that image with Ghost. And you kind of lose track, is what I'm saying. And so you forget what you've tried. It's sort of a whirlwind. I'm a results-oriented person, outcome-based. So I barely care about what version of Ghost I'm running in the first place. I'm just like rapid fire trying to make something work until it works. Anyway, that's why some of these troubleshooting segments are kind of confusing, I suspect. Because this might be the hot new gaming rig, got this 256 meg stick of RAM. Let's pull out this 128 stick, save that for something else. If we magically find the Nortel software we need, I suspect we'll want more RAM anyway. Okay, I'm gonna boot that without anything in here just to make sure it's happy. The hell does this mean? Here's the old 128 megabyte stick. Oh boy, I would like to shut down. I don't like that at all. Let's try to get in the BIOS. That is a lie. Serial presence detect? What in the... I'll put the SD card back in. Computers were a mistake. Device data missing or inconclusive. What does that even mean? Well, we're in FreeDOS. Really having a hard time understanding why it can't detect the right RAM. It won't let me get into the BIOS either, even after I restart. So I'm hitting F2. Oh, there we go. Okay. Why do you think you have 128 megs of RAM? So let's go over to boot and do a quick boot disable. This should make it test that RAM. So now it's slower. It's not quick booting. Does it need to do this when you change RAM? I don't know. Quite possibly. Doesn't like it. Okay. All right, screw the RAM upgrade. Aha. ECC, error code correcting. Might be server RAM. I need to just stop messing with RAM entirely in any video, or at least not film it. Because clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's where things are going to get a little sketchy. So I've got this Win98 folder, and I think I can run setup. Okay. So it's going to do the classic scan disk. That's fine. So I already have DOS, and I'm just installing Windows now. And I think that's a valid upgrade path, so to speak. Oh, it says Windows 98 requires a computer with at least 16 megabytes of memory. I've got 128. What's going to happen when I click OK? Oh, doesn't like it. Windows 95 time. Actually, there may be another way. Let's run setup with the /im flag. This should hopefully skip the memory check. There's also flags to skip this stuff too, but it passed last time, so whatever. That did not work. Here's a good one. Went to go make a Win95 folder, and I can no longer write to this drive. Don't have permissions to make folders or anything. No one said it was going to be easy getting Windows on this Nortel Networks Enterprise Edge 1000. I'm going to get Windows 95 on this thing, the install media, and I'll be back. Here's the Windows 98 SD card I was having trouble writing to, and Rufus was getting confused and erroring out. So, I set up another one. This one's got FreeDOS and Win95 install assets on it. And it turns out the key to success, so far anyway, for installing Windows on your Enterprise Edge 1000 is having bought 10 of these Xfinity SD cards for 18 bucks back in April of 2021. So let's try this one. If this doesn't work, this video might be over. I think I might have done MS-DOS this time. At any rate, Win95 setup. I don't know what that means. Okay, I like this. Looking good. Chloe's making noise. Chloe's crunching some bags somewhere. Chloe! I mean, we just started, but feeling pretty good. This is my favorite Windows, I guess you could say Microsoft desktop background of all time. It is so good. It's got like a serial cable or something, a CD-ROM. Bill Gates loved those. And then the classic Microsoft mouse. I used to have a bunch of those. It's about 5 minutes later, and the mouse still works. But I don't think we're getting anywhere. So I'm losing interest. I've done a lot of research online, and I think basically I'm going to have to publish this video, and one of you will reach out and say, hey, I've got all the Nortel images you could ever want. Let's pop one of these PCMCIA cards into a laptop though. See what's up. So I know I can't prove it, but the only thing worse than having bought one of these without a hard drive is not having this MSC. I'm pretty sure you want this big time. Made in Canada. So let's pop one of these PCMCIA cards into the Windows 7 laptop. We've got quite the setup going here. As funny as it would have been to run Windows on this, like, to what end? You need the actual software. So, of course, this thing ran Windows NT, but with all the Nortel crap pre-installed, and it could understand this MSC card and all the other telephony stuff. That's the end goal. Like, that'd be the ideal state. Actually use this as it was intended. But let's get into Windows 7. And we're about to pop this bad boy in. Also made in Canada, of course, by Nortel. Oh, and they even say Northern Telecom on this thing. That's cool. Despite the dongle, my money is on, it's probably a flash card of some type. And also, this probably just won't be useful. Windows 7 does not even detect it. Wait, what was that? This was like 2 minutes later. Usually it instantly tells you that it's looking for something, but it took a solid minute or two. PCMCIA MTD002. Anyway, there's obviously not going to be a driver for this thing. Let's pull this one out. Interesting. It's the next day. Remember how I said I had a write of the SD card that Windows would recognize the various partitions? But when I put it in the machine, it couldn't boot from that? That didn't sit right with me. That doesn't make any sense. Throughout my troubleshooting, I had written the image several times, and so I started retracing my steps. With the image we had attempted to boot from, I had actually loaded the GHO file up here in this Explorer, and it works. Doesn't complain, but you can also compile these to a new GHO. And so it combines all three files into one large GHO file. It exported just fine. Then I tried to write it to the SD card, and it complained with that same integrity check error about 83% of the way through. That's the one we tried to boot with. And the one that Windows could see, that was one of the original passes where we just loaded up Ghost 32. I think when it asked to abort, I said no, and Windows could see it. I redid that, so check it out. Turn this back on. We got Windows trying to open up like DOS partitions, and if you ignore it, I think it kind of loads the rest up. Windows can see this one. Yeah, there's more of it showing up. Check out what happens when we boot this time. Now, I'm not saying we don't still have a corrupt OS. I haven't gotten very far, but let me show you what happens. We still have to F1 to resume. Look at this, OS Loader 4.0, Business Communications Manager. I haven't gotten any further than this. So it might still be corrupt. I'm just going to let it do its thing. What the heck? NT 4.0 Service Pack 6. Quite up to date. It's just been sitting here for like 10 minutes. Nothing over the serial console. There was another sort of OS maintenance mode menu, and also when I just tried to let it load naturally, there was like a initialized from settings type option. I'm going to try that first. So we got this maintenance OS. We'll try that next, but in here there was spacebar now to invoke hardware profile. Oh, this is some NT stuff. This probably isn't going to really help us. We'll see. Yeah, same story. Just get stuck here. It is possible that Windows NT doesn't like that SD card configuration for whatever reason. Let's try the maintenance OS. Let's learn what maintenance OS is. Same thing's probably going to happen. What is this screen? The disk is really busy at first. Now it's kind of dying down. And eventually it pretty much just stops. Same story. The dots progress along. We stop at this 1. Maybe we don't have enough memory for this 3.7 deal. It doesn't seem right. Well, I think we're stuck for now, but this thing will make a return. I got a pretty hot lead on something. Not a lot of fun messing around with this thing, but ultimately I've failed. We've been thwarted by the software for now. Now I could get Windows 95 or Windows 98 on this, I think, with a ton more hours put in, but to what end? It's got this very special hardware inside. You really want the BCM software, whether it's NT under the hood or Linux. And I do have a lead on a literal ID hard drive, Nortel branded, well, I mean it's a Maxter drive, but shipped by Nortel with one of their part numbers with BCM 3.5 on it. My understanding is it was in a box marked BCM 1000. My understanding is also that this is just a BCM 1000, a really early version with the different branding. But if you've got copies of this stuff, let me know either way. This was some of the hardest software to find. I thought I would really had it when I found that full copy of 3.7, and it does legitimately seem corrupt. It's interesting, on that forum post I was showing where someone posted the file names and their exact size down to the bytes, all three of mine were a little smaller, as I recall, a few kilobytes off. Now that might not matter. I might just have a different patch version of the 3.7 release, but it's another data point. There's two other problems. My understanding is if we get this thing running, Nortel had these things called key codes to actually provision you with the rights to use certain features. Down to these phones, I think. Speaking of phones, I don't have any digital phones, so there's only so much we could do with it anyway. Don't worry though, I bought some on eBay that may or may not work. I also need some more Cat 3 cables with the right gender. So yeah, I am gonna ramp up on everything we need to get this thing actually working as a telephony device. So that will be in a future video. But I hope you enjoyed follow along anyway. I mean, we got to mess with Ghost. Got to build a Sunray 1 stand. This machine's not that loud. That was really nice. When we finally get this thing ripping, it's going to look really sweet next to those base stacks. I think that's going to do it for this iteration of the Nortel Networks. What is it called? Enterprise Edge 1000. This whole video, I cannot remember that. I'm just going to start calling it a BCM 1000. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I am on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which means I need like over 3,000 subscribers per month for the rest of the year. And if you'd really like to support the channel, I'm on Patreon. I post behind the scenes type videos, the occasional early release, and you also get access to the Serialport Discord, where I hang out all the time. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.